Good evening, Carol. Hopefully you can see us and hear us. There you are. You're muted.
There.
Okay. So we got sound and video. Great.
Okay, great.
So good evening. I know that you are taking the place of Mary because she can't be here tonight, and that is fine. I'm gonna do some housekeeping just so you know. This is technically a public hearing, which means it is being recorded and it will be on the City of Longmont's YouTube channel.
Okay.
I'm going to introduce the board, and then I will and staff give you a chance to introduce yourself, and then I will set a 10-minute timer so that it'll be 10 minutes of questions and answers from the board, and then you'll have 5 minutes to share whatever you want to share. You don't have to use that whole 5 minutes, and we don't have to use the whole 10 minutes if the board is satisfied with the questions they have. But just want to give you kind of a rundown of how this works.
All right.
All right. So let me start letting the board introduce themselves. They're going to tell you their name and how long they've been on the board. So I'm going to start on my top left with Graham.
Hi, Carol. I'm Graham, and I'm on my second term on the board.
Hello.
And Deanna.
Hello, I'm Deanna. I'm on my 4th year on the board. Nice to see you here tonight.
Thank you.
And Caitlin.
Hi, Carol. Good evening. Thanks so much for being here. I'm Caitlin Abbott. This is my 4th year on the board as well.
All right. Thanks.
Then you know me, and I want to introduce Christina.
Okay.
Hi, Carol. I'm Christina. I'm not on camera. I'm under the weather. I'm the Human Services Director, and I've been in this position since December, but with the city since in the same department since 1999.
I was at the St. Vrain Community Council.
Yeah, we did get to meet.
Yeah,
I do recognize you. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry you're not feeling well.
Oh, thank you.
And you can't see her, but the person who handles all these meetings and does all the confirmations and scheduling is Brenda Palacio, our executive assistant for the Human Services. So why don't you take just 30 seconds or a minute or so and introduce yourself, and then we'll start with the questions.
Okay. Introduce myself rather than my organization. Is that?
Yeah. Don't worry about the organization. We'll get to that.
Okay. My name is Carol Fries. I live in Erie. I'm active on the board of directors for Home Ahead. I'm retired now, so I spend a lot of time with volunteer work and with my grandson and running and writing and reading and that kind of thing. So
awesome. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start the timer so the board can ask questions. Graham, go ahead.
Cool. Thanks, Carol, for all your work. I have 2 questions. The first one is around your goal to have 2 diverse voices added to staff and/or board. Can you fill that in a little bit more about what specifically you have in mind there?
Yeah, we've added 1 woman of color in the last year, and we recognize that we need more unique voices. We also have a woman with lived experience with homelessness, and also lived experience as a case manager. So that's helping bring some perspective to our organization. We are, as a board, we feel like we need some younger voices. We're retired and you know, kind of in the same socioeconomic strata, and share a lot of passion for this work and are kind of trying to reach out. One of the things we thought by joining the St. Vrain Community Council, we could meet some other people there that are leaders of organizations that are either involved with serving communities of color or you know, have more experience in that realm than we do. So we've done that. We put a request into our grant to do some more diversity training. We've had everybody on our board has taken some diversity training, but we want to continue to just make ourselves more aware of our shortcomings and just take the concrete steps toward change. A lot of that involves getting more known in the community so that there are people that understand our work and might want to join it.
Awesome. Thanks for doing that work. And my second last question is, what is the cost of these dog that are sniffing out bed bugs, it looks like.
sniffers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary knows more about that than I do. It's a couple of $100 per visit, I think.
Okay.
And we have we have our inventory in several locations, which is one of our challenges, actually. We have the furniture stored in multiple places. So we would need to get some budget money to do that bed bug sniffing if that gets approved.
Okay, thank you.
It's something we'd want to do. I should have looked at that more closely, but it's maybe quarterly or that kind of thing too. It wouldn't be a once and done kind of thing. It has to be sort of ongoing.
Deanna?
Maybe I missed this in your application, and it's sort of related to Graham's first question. I'm wondering if you have any Spanish speaking or bilingual staff?
No, we have only 2 part-time staff that together don't even equal a full-time equivalent. So we're a very new, young organization. We have a volunteer who is Spanish speaking that helps with on the volunteer side of this, but at this point, our staff is very small.
I remember I was actually here for last year for your first interview as well. So I remember, and I know that you're growing. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on how you help people with limited English speaking capabilities and accessing your services then?
Yeah, I think that's very important. We've kind of looked to the case managers to help us with that. And so all the clients come through with a case manager, and often the case manager helps with translation or can point us to somebody who does, who can help out in that regard. So we aren't serving walk-ins per se, but they're coming in, under the leadership of someone who can often help with the language skills. But we'd like to have it on our own staff too, and on our own, particularly on the volunteer team, because a lot of the work does get done, especially the face-to-face. The delivery or the pickup of furniture happens by volunteers, and we understand that communication is critical there, and want to be better at that.
Thank you.
So, Carol, so the board and staff look at different things when they look at this, at your application. So for example, not that they don't look at everything together, we all look at all, but we focus on different things. The board is looking at your program and they're asking about how you delivered services and things like that, about your outcomes. Whereas staff, we look at your overall agency and organizational information that you provide in the application. And so I just had a couple of questions and a comment so I need you to think about. The first question that I had is, when I look at your agency budget, you're a small agency, I totally get it. But you tend to be pretty heavy on the local government as far as your places of revenue. And just wanting to know if you're looking at, as the board and staff is looking at how to diversify that funding.
Yeah, we understand that we're very fortunate to have the government funding that we got in our first year, and are trying very hard not to take that for granted. So we're looking at trying to understand more and do a better job of reaching individual donors, because based on Mary's involved in the Furniture Bank Network of North America and has been, reviewing fundraising and best practices and that kind of thing. And what she's been hearing is that we really need to be working more with individual donors as opposed to municipalities. So it's again, with a small group and a small board and a small number of volunteers, we're just trying to figure out what's the best way to do that more effectively. One of the things we've written into the grant is getting some help just from a development consultant who can help us begin to understand what we need to be doing. And I know there's a lot of resources that we could pull from that are like free from the internet and that kind of thing, but we feel like if we could work with somebody with experience with nonprofit fundraising to help us understand how to take ourselves to the next level in terms of broadening our funding base. But we've got some business support, we've got some quite a bit of support in the faith communities right now. But what we haven't really done is gone after individual donors.
And that was gonna be my second point and comment for you all to think about. So typically, the city of Longmont and city of Boulder do not fund general operating. So for example, that position or that consultant probably wouldn't be covered under our grant.
Okay.
The direct salary is fine because it's part of the program. But the consultant, that's what I was gonna ask what it was for.
Mhm.
So just to be thoughtful about that, that section, because we don't cover general operating.
And that's considered operating.
Yeah. So what we cover is programs. So if you
Mhm.
needed money, for example, typically wouldn't cover rent. However, because you are renting out, storage units, that is considered program, right?
Mhm.
That is part of how your program operates. So while we couldn't cover your office rent unless it was meant for the program, we can definitely cover the rent for a storage unit because that is essential to the delivering of your services.
Service, I see.
So yeah, so when you think about that, that's kind of where we work on. So we don't do direct financial assistance, and we typically don't do, we'll cover overhead. For example, we can cover payroll taxes and stuff because it's part of program staff, right? So just something to think about. That was my other comment.
Okay.
So Eliberto, would it be a good idea to maybe connect Carol or give her the information to Social Venture Partners? Would that be
Yeah,
a good
I can
connection?
connect
So
you. Yeah.
yeah, that would be, they can often help Carol with board development, organizational development, or organization development, excuse me. And just kind of maybe help you grow in the right way and kind of diversify. Go ahead.
We have a relationship with Social Venture Partners.
Oh, good.
They've
Great.
come and spoken with our board, just kind of done a little board 101 kind of
Good.
thing. So I
Good.
appreciate that suggestion and
Yep.
and understand that might be a good resource.
That would be
development
wonderful. A
expertise.
really, really good resource to
Yeah.
follow up on. Good.
Okay.
So yeah, so and it doesn't disqualify the application at all. Just if you do get funded, we'd have to work out,
A program piece. Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right.
any other questions for Carol?
I just had a quick comment, Eliberto. Carol, again, thanks for being here. I think one of the things that I noticed in your application, and I think is really great, and was an increased emphasis on gathering data specifically for your program and how it's specifically impacting the community. I also, one of the things I noticed is it's not necessarily like, 50 different aspects of how it's helping people. I really like that you're really focused in on two really key components: is, are people still housed
Mhm.
after this, and what are their like sort of feelings about it. It can be really daunting for a lot of agencies, particularly newer ones, to gather data, and I think you all have done a great job of going from very small,
Mhm.
relying on national data, but now starting to gather that without feeling like you have to get everything all at once, because I think that sometimes actually stops a lot of agencies from being able to deliver the service. So there's like this trade-off, particularly when you're small, of gathering data versus delivering the service. And I feel seeing that progression from last year to this year and what you're getting into place is really great to see. So I think being able to report on that, going into next year and your next and further funding cycles is going to be really impactful, particularly as we have seen just changes in housing stability post-COVID.
Mhm. Yeah, I would give the credit to Mary, the executive director, for that, because she very quickly got kind of a capture mechanism in place that we went from, so that we have a much better sense of the ages and the genders and the racial situation, racial identity of the clients we're serving. And we're very surprised to find out that a third of them have small children. That what we started out was a lot of single men when we first started doing this as a church, and now it's turning into mothers with children and it's kind of, the demographic is changing quite a bit, and we
So Carol,
I wouldn't have known that.
yeah, so I want to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on the clock, and we
Okay.
got, so I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, since we've gone over a little bit, for you to share whatever you want to share.
Okay, just first, we're grateful for the support you've already given us. We believe that we're making a difference in the lives of people in Longmont, people of all ages, including young children. And I think that just the idea of getting them into a safer, more comfortable space, taking the stress of finding the furniture away so that they can just start to begin a new life. I think that's proving to be quite helpful to many people. They have so many other challenges to work on, and we're not idealistic enough to believe that furniture is going to solve all that. But when these people have a bed to sleep in and a kitchen table to gather around and a few pots and pans to cook a healthy meal with, we feel like, you know, we're giving them a platform to then be in a comfortable place where they can work on their other challenges, which are many in Longmont and all over the county. So we're real enthused about the work we're doing and only see the demand growing. I think we'd like to get to a point where we could help people that are not necessarily transitioning out of homeless, but are just still living in poverty and need the kind of simple furnishings and simple help that we can provide. And so with some more funding and with some more support, a broader base of support, including the government and beyond, we're hopeful that we can make a difference in the lives of some very, very economically vulnerable people in our community. So thanks for helping us do that this year, and we hope we can continue to do that next year with your help.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate your work and the work that Home Ahead does, and you have a good rest of your night.
Okay, appreciate your time. Thanks. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. And our next group is in the waiting room, and that is Together. We want to let them
This
in.
is another agency that received.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So we'll have to ask about that. Yep.
I forgot about that. Thank you, Christina, for reminding me. All right. Hopefully we get their audio working. All right.
Hi.
There we go. All right. Welcome. Sorry for we always want to start on time, but we always get into these really good conversations and go a little bit over. So apologies for that.
No,
So
no.
welcome. Yeah, welcome to our housing stability hearing tonight. Just doing a little bit of housekeeping, just so you know that this is a public hearing, because we have 3 board members here, so it's being recorded and will be available on City of Longmont's YouTube channel. What we're going to do real quick is I'm going to introduce the board and staff, and then give you a minute to introduce yourselves, and then we're going to get right into the questions, which should last 10 minutes, and then we'll give you up to 5 minutes if we have time for that. But we're running a little bit late, so we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to start this time on my bottom left. I'm going to start with Caitlin.
Hi, good evening. I'm Caitlin Abbott. This is my 4th year serving on this board.
Graham.
Hi, my name is Graham. Welcome. Thank you for your work. I'm in my 2nd term on the board.
Deanna.
Hello, thank you so much for what you do. Nice to see you here tonight. My name is Deanna and I'm on my 4th year on the board.
All right, Christina.
Good evening. I'm Christina Pacheco. I'm the Director for Human Services at the city. I'm fighting the flu, so I'm not on camera tonight. I've been with the city since 1999 in the same department, but with in this position since December.
And of course, you know me. And who you can't see is Brenda Palacio. She is our executive admin, and she is the magic that makes all these things work, these meetings work together. She confirms, she schedules, she just puts it all together. So
Absolutely.
I'll give you a quick minute to introduce yourselves, and then we're going to get started.
Okay, well, I'll start and then I'll let you go, Megan. My name is Tamara and I'm the grants manager at Together. So I just tell the story, and a lot of the work that is happening is under Megan's purview. So I will let her take it away next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Bruce. She, her pronouns. I am the director of programs for Together, and I have been with the organization for going on 16 years now.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to start the Q&A time. Anybody have the first question? Go ahead, Deanna.
Hi. So my first question was about services provided to Longmont residents. And I noticed in the application that there were about 15 residents from Longmont, but about 200 from Boulder. I guess my question is really, do you think that there are fewer homeless youth in Longmont, or is it a location issue, or people just going to Boulder? I don't know if you have any opinions on that.
Well, I can start. I think what we do see is that a lot of youth are coming from cities outside of Boulder, and they're coming to Boulder to access services. I mean, we hear regularly from them that they feel safer in Boulder. We have a lot of youth coming from all over the metro area because Boulder is seen as a safer place to sort of get the help that they need, when you compare it to Denver, obviously. And a lot of them, they don't necessarily tell us where they're coming from either. So we try to get that information from them, but it's sort of a mobile population. So they may start in Longmont, they might go to Denver, they might not feel safe in Denver, so then they come to Boulder. And, a part of it is just sort of tracking their trajectory as well.
Oh, Graham and then Christina.
Yeah, hi. How long after they exit Together do you track them or survey for, outcomes?
You want me to take that one, Tamara? So our aftercare is typically 30, 60, 90 days that we follow up with them. However, we will have relationships with them as long as they are needing services that when they're in our age range. So oftentimes that looks like up to a year or a year and a half.
Okay. And then my last question is about, one of your goals is 50% will leave to stable housing. I assume the other 50% just leave your program and maybe, they're just returning to unhoused situations, or you just don't know. Is there sort of like a predominant reason you can put your finger on about like why that 50% don't make it to safe, stable housing?
It's something that we are working on. I think it's a documentation issue. If we don't know, it sort of is automatically deemed as it's not safe. And so are kind of exploring other options as how to capture that information.
Yeah, and I think too, a lot of, again, given the complexity of the situations that a lot of these young people find themselves in, they might be leaving for a service elsewhere, or they might, they might be going to stay with family. And that is still, unless it's a really safe and permanent setting, we don't necessarily consider that a safe exit. I mean, it can be, but it varies. So I think again, kind of the nature of homelessness is that, there are multiple steps and multiple things that really have to happen to help you find that stability. And it just takes time sometimes. They might come into one of our programs and leave for a short time and come right back. And they might find another program that, excuse me, that they feel better fits their needs. There aren't a lot out there, but there are a few others.
Okay, thank you both.
Christina.
Thank you, Eliberto. So our department also managed the Metropolitan Mayor's grant funding. And that we know that source of funding is 1 year. It's not ongoing. And so can you help us understand how you were awarded $37,500 through that process? So can you help us understand how how these two grants are different, if they are different, because I know that they kind of ran parallel to each other. So I just want to make sure that, I just want to know if you applied for the same thing in both areas.
I can take that one. We did not apply for the same programs, but I think well, I know one thing we're finding in our programs is that there aren't a lot of other options out there for youth. When they're looking for housing, there are very few options. And so we have a housing program. We have our permanent supportive housing that is physically in Boulder. And certainly that is an area that the city has funded through this annual grant in previous years, and that was part of the application here. We also have our shelter, but then under the housing program, we have what we call our transitional living program, and that was what we requested funding for. At this current time, we have 7 youth that came from Longmont that moved back to Longmont, and really that's home and where they want to be. And so what we do is, they have to pay a portion of their rent, but we work with them over time to really increase their stability. They work with a case manager. We help them find the job that they need to support themselves, and we sort of wean them off of that support. And when they're ready to be fully independent, we do that. But in that year or so that we're working with them, we are paying a significant portion of their rent often. And so that's really what those dollars are for, is to
Great.
keep those youth in housing in Longmont.
Great. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions from the board? Oh, go ahead, Caitlin.
Yeah. I wonder if you could talk a little bit. So Deanna talked a little bit about the difference in numbers for Longmont and Boulder, and you've got a lot of folks in Boulder. I'm curious what I think I saw a mention of like working with St. Vrain Valley School District or for referrals. I'm wondering what other outreach efforts look like specifically for Longmont, aside from like folks from Longmont coming to Boulder.
I can take a little piece of that. I think that we are starting to focus our outreach a little bit more, not just with McKinney-Vento, but the actual schools, the libraries, other sort of community events in Longmont, so that we can get the word out there that we exist. And then, I think the importance of these dollars is that we really want to keep youth in the community that they feel connected with. And so want that if they feel connected to Longmont, if that's their home, that's where we want them to live. That's where they feel supported.
Yeah, and I know I was just on a call that included our program managers, and that included our street outreach manager, and that is a big effort going forward, where that street outreach isn't going to focus solely on street outreach, but really try to find other connections, whether they're through community organizations in the different cities, through the school districts, getting into classrooms, whatever needs to happen to make sure that youth and the people who support them know about the services and can connect them to those services.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? If not, we will give you your time to I'll stop the timer because again we need to use it. So I'll give you your 5 minutes since we got done early. And you can share whatever you want to share with us.
I kind of touched on this earlier, but I think, increasingly we are seeing that there aren't a lot of housing options and other service options for youth, regardless of where they come from. So when they're looking for permanent housing or just other services, we have added a behavioral health team in-house. We're finding that unless they can get into our housing programs, oftentimes they're staying in our shelter for longer periods of time because there is nowhere else to go. So I think that, you know, in a way says two things. It shows how critical the services are, that there be services, but I think it also shows, you know, really how our programs connect to each other and connect youth to different kinds of resources depending on where they're at in their journey. And you know, I don't know that anyone else has quite, I don't want to, you know, say bad things about other people, but I'm a believer. I drink the Kool-Aid. I don't just work for Together. And I really feel like our team is really conscious of looking at the full picture of what youth need and really trying to make sure that we've got an option that they can access whatever they need.
Okay. Megan, anything else?
I think that was very well said. I think that we are just one big community and want to just support youth wherever they are and meet them where they're at, and do our best to make sure that they feel safe where they are staying. And so thank you all.
All right. Thank
Thank
you, and have a good night.
Thanks, you guys too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, this doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. But
Alberto, can I ask one question? Because I don't think we have access to it. But one thing I noticed was that maybe I should have asked them this. I don't know. I saw that they were requesting $0 from the other funders, but I think that that's because it's for this specific program versus other programs that they have. Is that
so no, probably what they did, and actually the best place to look is to look at their program budget. Because what they might have done is they might have just created separate applications. That you don't have to, but they might have just created separate applications. If you look at the program budget, you will see what they asked for from the other funders as well.
Yeah, I don't see that, but I need to look more detailed probably on this. That's fine. All good. I just want I thought that might be the case, that some people do separate applications for each one so that it's not like combined information. So that's fine. Thank you. I think you were going to say something about the next one coming in.
Yeah, so they're not here. And so I know there was some confusion with Boulder. Because they, like I said in the email earlier today to you all, they had only in the scope of works. I'm not sure why it was such a. I thought it was fine. It was just, anyway. I don't know if they thought they didn't have to come or not, but if it's not our fault, if we did everything right and they don't show up, then they're gonna disqualify. I just emailed her that right now because apparently she had confirmed with Brenda, right, Brenda?
She did, and I'm actually looking for a phone number right now to see if I can get a hold of her. But she did confirm both on the invite and via email. So I'm not quite sure, but I will see if I can get a hold of her.
So I guess if she can do it tonight, then if you're all okay with it, I'm fine with it. But we'll try and get a hold of her. So I guess we get an extra long break because she was the last one before the break. Yeah, I emailed her. So yeah, I think that unless, again, if it was on our side, if we didn't confirm something or whatever, if we did make a mistake, then we will try and put her in one of the other ones, or we will ask you to just meet with her. We'll do just one. But other than that, typically our policy is if you don't show up, you are disqualified. So I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Can you hold one quick minute? Okay, I'm calling right now.
Okay, you're calling. Okay, yeah, we can hold for a little bit.
Ringing weird, like a weird busy, but I sent her a text message as well, so we'll see.
All right, well, welcome back from the break. Quick update on Lisa. She apparently there was some issues with her email, but she'll be here at 7:15. Unfortunately, I need to go pick up my son at 7:30, so I will not be here for that final hearing. But Christina will lead that. So just so you know, typically if it's not an issue where the city made a mistake, we don't typically allow a rescheduling of these. If it's something that we did, whether you got the wrong email or something we left them off an email, then we would. If it's their system or something on theirs, and we typically don't. But because she responded and can do it tonight, then we'll go ahead and give her the opportunity to do that tonight. And yeah, so that's how, for Christina, this is being her first time as Human Services Director. That's typically how it goes. So, all right. Are we ready?
Mhm.
All right. So why don't we let Tim and Laura in?
I don't see Laura yet.
She's still in the waiting room. Or she dropped off. Tim, was Laura was she gonna join you tonight?
Yep, she should be.
Okay, 'cause I see her in the waiting room.
I don't see her. Let me try some
Hold on, let's see.
different view or something.
I'll try. I think I have co-host. I'll try and admit her. There she is. There's Laura. All right. So good night and welcome to good evening and welcome to the housing stability hearing round for human services funding. Thank you for being here tonight. Just to do a little bit of housekeeping, this is a public meeting, so it will be recorded and be available on the City of Longmont's YouTube page. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the board members and staff and then give you, a brief minute to introduce yourselves. And then we will jump into a 10-minute round of Q&A. And then if we have time at the end, we'll give 5 minutes for you to share whatever you want to share. All right?
Yep.
So really quickly, I'm going to introduce our board. I'll start with my top left, Graham.
Hi, I'm Graham. Nice to see you all again. I'm on my second term on the board. Thanks for all your work.
Awesome. Deanna.
Hi, I'm Deanna Blair. I'm on my 4th year on the board, and it's nice to see you all here tonight.
Caitlin.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you both again. You were like one of my first site visits when I joined the board. So it's my 4th year on the board. Great to see you both.
Awesome. Christina.
Hi there, Christina Pacheco, Human Services Director. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I have my camera off. I've been with the city since 1999, but in this position since December.
Awesome. And you can't see her, but Brenda is the magician that makes all of this work. She confirms, she calls, she does all her magic in the background. All right, real quickly, can you introduce yourselves and then we'll get jumping right into the questions.
Okay, real quick. Hi, I'm Tim Rocco. I'm the executive director of In Between of Longmont. Been with the agency for 14, I guess this is year 14.
And I'm Laura Leotino, Associate Director at the In-Between, and I've been with the In-Between for 7 years, total of 10, because I started with the In-Between, left for a while, and came back. I think it was 14. Tim's been here 14. I think we started at the same time.
Yeah, you're on your
Awesome.
second term.
Well, I was 5 years out of there, so yeah, I've been here 10 years. Anyway.
Is anybody else is Laura breaking up for anybody else? Okay, yeah, you're not coming through very clear, Laura.
Oh.
That might be a little better. Oh. No.
No.
Came out and
You want to try
started over.
coming out and coming back in?
Yeah, I could do that. All right.
Okay. We'll let you in as soon as you hop back on. All right. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and start a timer. See who's got the first question. Okay, Deanna and then Graham.
Hi, Tim. I had probably a pretty simple question, but I was interested in reading your application. I noted that you had increased the time limit on transitional housing to 3 years. And I'm just wondering when you made that change and if you've noticed any impact on people more successfully transitioning to permanent housing as a consequence.
Well, the second part of your question, we don't know yet, because this was just something we implemented just really weeks and months ago. I would say that probably what you caught at some flavor within this whole thing is we went through a pretty comprehensive strategic plan. And part of that with staff and board was to really look and analyze, what we can do differently, better, things like that. And one of the things that came from that was, can we consider extending our time so that people can, give them the best opportunities, best shot to advance and build capacity over a longer period of time. So we all felt like that was it just made a lot of sense. We understand that it does on the other side, the flip side of that, or a consequence of that is it will hold back our wait lists probably to some degree, but it's all really new yet. So we haven't seen any exit survey yet to know if that's going to help in the long run, but we hope that it will.
Thank you. I hope it does too.
Yeah.
All right, Graham.
So I see one of your outcome measurement tools is the self-sufficiency metric, and you're looking for 80% improvement on that. And I appreciate you, sort of specifying that since the needs can be so diverse, like the improvements need to be equally diverse or tailored to the peculiarities of the situation. I guess I'm just curious, is there a way, like what is just general improvement? Would there be a way to sort of specify further, like 10%, 5%, or is it really just too different across the board?
So I can tell you, so the self-sufficiency matrix is a widely used tool across the nation. Has been in existence from the I believe it was Diana, I forget her last name, through University of Washington, that made that popular some 20 years ago. And what it is, it's a continuum. So you understand that if people it's a self-scoring mechanism. So if I'm grading myself as a 1 in housing, which would be literally, homeless or in crisis, it is that I'm in crisis. And it spans to 5. A number 5 score would mean that I am sustaining, I'm thriving, and everything in between. So it takes a person through steps, and it has some language that as a person looks at it, we use this discussion tool every 6 months to say, what do you think you're at today in relation to your finances, or in relation to your household management, or what have you. So of the 10 domains we have selected, the original domains, I believe, were 29, and we pared that down to 10. so that we feel like we can make impact around. So it's improvement. So really, if someone's coming in and self-scoring as a 1 or 2 in somewhat in crisis, and they move to a 3 or a 4, they may not be all the way there, but they made some improvement. That's what we're looking for. So it's improvement of any kind. It could be from 1 to 5, but it could be 1 to 3. It's any improvement whatsoever.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Thank you for explaining that.
I forgot. Was anybody next? Because I have a question in the comment. No? Okay. Then I'll go. So Tim, I always make the caveat that the board and staff look at different things when they look at your application. Not that we don't look at the whole application, but we focus on different things. The board is looking at your program and your outcomes and ensuring that it aligns with what we're trying to fund. Staff really looks at your strategic goals, your agency budget, and that kind of stuff. So first thing I want to say is, I always love when an agency actually answers the question as the question is written, and I really appreciate what you all did on question number 1. That's the first question, and it's really important to me because I want to see, what your strategic goals are. And so I guess my question is on that. Talk to me a little bit more about, I was really intrigued by the prudent growth pillar number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and I have had conversations about this before, but can you just talk a little bit more about that? Like you say there, you're like the only transitional, doing, long-term supportive housing and transitional housing. So what does it mean for you to grow and have that growth be prudent?
Right. And the word prudent came from one of our board members. We talked about, we need to put a qualifier in front of growth, and that we do it in a way that's with some due diligence and smart, effective, because you can also grow too quickly and then pay the price also, be it programming or staffing or what have you, right? So or budget related. So pillar 3, what the prudent growth was really, as you may know, we have our 7th potential building in front of us, and we're fundraising for capital dollars to someday break ground next year, hopefully, on the Wesley Home project, which is going to add another 11 apartment units of permanent supportive housing. And as we take on these projects, we have to consider what we plan to do in the prudent growth. A big piece of that is whether it's a project like that, which is pretty significant for an agency of our size, or it's even just a new program offering technique, or a new partnership. If we are looking for a new partnership with somebody that could utilize what we have to offer, which is housing and supportive services, that we're going to analyze, and we take it through essentially a SWOT analysis of, is this good for the agency as well as our partner, or the project or what have you. And so we want to make sure that we're doing this in a way that's careful and well thought. If we do a thorough analysis, is it right for the agency to do so rather than just jumping into it? That's really sort of the concept in a nutshell, is to really take a good look at it, and not just because I think we've had some situations that didn't go as well as we had planned, and I'm speaking to a situation not long ago that we ended up with 5 meth contaminated units from a particular contract that didn't go so well for us, and we exited that contract, and we really thought, we have to pause and just be smart about our next steps. So it's really all of those things, but a little bit of lessons learned too.
Okay. Any other questions from the board or staff?
No, I don't have any at this time.
All right, and that's fine. That is okay.
I actually did have one.
Oh, go ahead, Caitlin. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I didn't want to cough out loud. So this is actually a little bit of a follow-up from that, as well as Deanna's earlier question about extending. You mentioned that you all, did this strategic planning. I think, like Eliberto said, it's really great to see some of that. I'm curious, what are some of the biggest trends you're seeing with your clients right now? Like, each year I feel like there's so much changing. You're changing your, the length of time that folks can be there. What's changed, or what are you seeing in terms of trends with folks in the community that you serve?
I don't know if Laura, if you wanted to jump in. I would say that we are morphing into and looking like we're going to be offering more as we talk about growth, long-term or permanent supportive options. I think that's also where the funding is at, and so and that's good because we need more inventory on a permanent level. So our transitional model, though, it still has a place, I think, in the mix. Our hope is that it pairs nicely with that combination, and we might be able to provide that offering for some of those people who graduate from our program, but maybe still need a little bit more time, that could move into a permanent environment that we could offer. But that's definitely something I think we are recognizing, that we need more inventory, and but at the same time, at that 40% AMI and below, we need the supportive services. If we can continue to support our residents with that, we know that in the long run they're much more likely to thrive, and so maybe that kind of answers your question. I'm not exactly sure the trend, but Laura,
I don't know if he'll be able to hear me. Am I less choppy?
Yeah.
And
Maybe it's
speaking
your
of,
microphone.
You're getting choppier.
I have to get some new headphones. I cheaped out, and apparently it was a bad decision. It's going to cost more in the long run. Well, I think Chris challenges. There's just more and more economic challenges.
Yeah, you're breaking up pretty bad,
Yeah.
Laura.
I wonder if you could change your microphone to not be the earphones.
Well,
Just change the microphone on Zoom.
Yeah, and technically
I'm going to go into his office.
Yeah, we've hit the time.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll give you your 5 minutes, and that can be part of your answer. So yeah, we'll give you your 5 minutes, and that can be part of your answer. Your 5 minutes just talking about what you're seeing and changes, and so go ahead and start, Tim. You got 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think where Laura was trying to go with that, and it's a good point, is that we are excuse me, recognizing that there's still a little bit of carryover from COVID. Probably not to anybody's surprise, but the economic challenges that some of our residents are still experiencing, it's causing some of our residents. That's a little bit of what played into our decision to extend to 3 years. Is there seems to be a little bit of a hangover yet, from COVID, and so for people to recover economically, they need a little bit more time, and having kind of backslipped a little bit, are still yet in recovery, and so that might be a little bit of where Laura was going with that. That we see that our folks are still kind of, and maybe our folks who, though resilient, just they need a little bit more. Yeah, to your point there. So our, bringing all of our forces to bear and our resources and things like that, people can best take advantage of that over a longer period of time. I mentioned this Wesley Home project. We're actually this next week going to have a neighborhood hearing on it is in the site plan phase right now, or site plan approval phase, and so we're pretty excited about that. Hope to break ground on that next year, and as I mentioned, that's going to be a permanent supportive housing offering for generally speaking families. 2 and 3 bedroom units is what we're looking to build, but all in all, that along with the potential for us to bring in potentially the mental health supports this next year, and do more with our life skills trainings have really ticked up, I think, and we continue to do really well there, and we're offering lots of great programming, and that's generally coming from what our residents are asking for. I could use some support in this area, and that's sort of how we know where we want to put our efforts into life skills training. So at any rate, I think it's some of it is stay the course. But as we look to grow, we want to make sure we complement the types of services that are best suited for the residents. So that
All
was
right.
I didn't know if I had anything else, but also minding your time too.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for your time tonight. And if the board has, I know actually I have a question that I didn't get to ask, so I'm probably going to email you, Tim, to talk about that.
Anytime.
So appreciate your time and have a great evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
I'm trying to help Jackie get into the meeting, okay?
Okay. Yeah, I see Faye, but I don't see Jackie. And we're not too far off time, so we're about 4 minutes off. So hopefully we can. So yeah, these online things are much more convenient, but they have their challenges. Yeah, I'm still only seeing Faye in the waiting room.
Yeah, I'm sending some pictures for Jackie.
Is the link not working?
She says that when she clicks on the link, it takes her to the Zoom sessions, but she says I clicked on it and nothing's happening. So I sent her the link again, straight from this site. So I'm not quite sure what might be happening.
Yeah, that's weird. Oh, sorry, timer just went off. I wonder if you can call in with Faye.
I'm actually trying, I'm gonna call her and see if I can walk her through. Hi, Jackie.
Eliberto, is our next one already waiting? Can we swap them?
No, Lisa's not here yet.
Okay.
The only other person that we can admit her is Faye. I think she might be on their board. I think I know Faye. So yeah, Faye's here. We could start with her and see if we can get Jackie in. Let me go ahead and admit her.
We can start doing introduction.
Yeah, that's fine. We can start introducing. So Faye, we are having some technical difficulties getting Jackie in. So we're gonna start with introducing ourselves. I think Jackie's been around enough. She knows most of these folks that are on the board. Can you hear us? Okay. You're on mute if you're trying to talk. Maybe having technical difficulties on multiple levels. Let me see if I can chat to Faye.
Just gonna do that, but go ahead.
So what's going on?
I was gonna chat to her as well and see if she can actually hear us but I don't have any other number except the one I'm trying for Jackie. And it looks like it's a number that Faye lists. It's for the shelter, but I'm not having any luck getting hold of her.
I think I have Jackie's cell phone number.
Yeah, we can
Lisa.
if we can patch her in through the phone. It sounds like she's trying to get in but can't. So if we can patch her through the phone, that's fine. I'm gonna chat Faye here.
You want me to, well, I was just gonna say I could chat in the meeting chat too.
Yeah, why don't you do that? That's fine. Just having some technical difficulties here.
Let me see if I can get Jackie through her cell phone.
Yeah, that would be fine.
No.
Please leave your message for.
No, that didn't work. Probably a little overwhelmed, not paying attention to her cell phone.
She says she still can't get it on the computer. Faye's mic and camera won't come off pause. So I'm gonna kick her out and ask him. Well, I don't want to. I'm gonna tell her to come off and see if maybe she can log back in.
Okay. All right. And well, yeah, tell her to leave and then come back in and see what we can do. Are you emailing Jackie?
I just texted her too.
Okay. So since this is on us, our system's having issue. If we have to reschedule them, then we will work with you all to see if we can find. Right. So they're trying to get in and our system's not working. We will work with you all to see if we can find a time to reschedule theirs, and hopefully Lisa doesn't have any issues getting in because it's almost 7:15. So if Christina and Brenda, if we can't get this to work tonight, and
Let's
this is
do
our
that.
issue,
Yep,
yeah,
let's
we'll
do that.
reschedule them. Right, they're trying and our system's not letting them. Then we can reschedule them. Because yeah, I'm assuming that that Lisa will probably try and join here in a second as well. That's just weird.
That is.
So can you let her know, Brenda?
Yes, I can let her know we're gonna go ahead and just we'll work to reschedule her.
Yeah, it's almost 7:15. And
Okay.
we'll see if Lisa shows up, and we want to give both of them their time, and yeah, our system's not working. So yeah, we'll work with Caitlin, Graham, and Deanna to find the time. Yeah, because Lisa's now in the in the waiting room. So
You're ready? You want to
Yeah,
go ahead?
yeah, I can be here. I'll do the introductions, but I need to go pick up a child at a music lesson. So I will let Christina finish out.
I can do that.
Hi.
Lisa, how are you? Sorry about yeah.
No, please. I know we only have a little time, but let me apologize. I think you all know we're going through this reorganization and we're hiring staff and like we're changing email addresses and I just completely screwed up. So I appreciate you
Well,
giving
I
me
we
till
appreciate you
7:15.
making the time and being here tonight.
So
Really,
sorry.
yeah, thank you for that. So, I'm gonna do a little. Unfortunately I can't be here much longer, but I'm gonna start us off, and Christina Pacheco, our director, will finish it off. So I'm gonna, but I will start us off and do a little bit of housekeeping. So this is a public hearing, so it means it's being recorded and will be on the City of Longmont YouTube page. I'm gonna introduce our board and our staff, and then I will give you, Christina will give you a minute to introduce yourself, and you'll have 10 minutes for Q&A from the board. I did tell the board about the little mix-up with the, so we're gonna be looking at the good thing is you put both of those programs on there, the residential and the lodge. And for us, we're looking at the residential program, so their questions will be about that residential program. So yeah, I told them that that's totally fine for us. We know what we're funding and what we're looking at. So let me just go start with the board. I'll start with my left, Graham.
Yes, hi, Lisa. I'm Graham Steers. It's my second term on the board, and nice to speak with you tonight.
Caitlin.
Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you again. This is my 4th year on the board.
All right, Deanna.
Hi, Deanna Blair. This is also my 4th year on the board, and it's nice to see you again as well.
All right, Christina.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Pacheco, the Director for Human Services. I'm a little under the weather, so I have my camera off. I have been with the city since 1999 and in this position since December.
And you can't see her, but Brenda Palacio, who's been calling you, you know, trying to get a hold of you. She is our magic wizard that gets all these stuff scheduled. That's, and we're grateful that she's doing that and was able to get a hold of you and got you here. So with that, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then I'm going to sign off and let you all finish this hearing without me.
Okay, thank you, Eliberto.
Well, thank you again for your understanding. Clearly, it's been a few crazy months for us here, but I'm so excited to be here with you today. Lisa Sweeney Moran, I've been the executive director of Mother House, which then turned into Mother House in the Lodge and now Haven Ridge for nearly 6 years. So I've had a few opportunities to meet with all of you and with some of the folks on the board before, and glad to be here again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, Eliberto.
So good to see you, Eliberto. I'm sorry.
No worries.
You're fine.
Good
You're
night.
fine. So I'll go ahead and start the 10-minute timer for you know, any questions from the board, and I have a few if we have some time, and then we'll give you 5 minutes to just share whatever you'd like to share. So I'll go ahead and start. Who'd like to go ahead and ask the first question? Are there any questions from the board? Deanna.
Hi, Lisa. So my first question is, I saw on your application that you indicated that 90% of families transition to permanent housing. Are you tracking long-term success rates for those clients with permanent housing after they transition?
I should say my 10-year-old is playing Minecraft with a friend, and the amount of noise I'm hearing, if you hear it too, don't worry, there's not a fight club. It's just a 10-year-old. So
I have an 11-year-old that plays Minecraft with friends too, so I'm familiar with that noise.
It's amazing how it's like a full body activity.
Yep.
We do, but we don't track them forever. So we have 1 year that we ask them to commit to being tracked. And then we do have other folks we've stayed in touch with for, I guess at this point, almost 5 years is the longest we've tracked somebody. So folks who want to engage longer, and many of them do, sometimes for community, sometimes for supplies. I think, you know, we give maternity clothes, baby clothes, strollers, cribs, diapers, etc., to anybody in the community who needs them. So a lot of our moms, after they leave, still have a good incentive to get in touch, come by every few months and pick things up, especially as they have additional children. So with some of our families, I was actually just speaking to one today who we had graduate 5 years ago. She graduated from our program and we were just catching up today. But for most of our clients, 1 year is the standard. We have a sort of declining progressive program where we talk to them once a week for the first few months, then once a month for the next few months, and then once in the last quarter. And we have them do surveys every time we meet with them that are self-evaluations. So self-evaluations don't give us concrete information, but it gives us a sense of how they feel they're doing, which lets us track generally their ideas about well-being, as well as we do track specifics like housing status, employment, childcare, and their whether or not they're still on government programs.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Caitlin?
Yeah, so for those self-surveys, I'm curious, mostly because we just heard from another agency about similar, where sort of your questions or what how that evaluation is done. Like,
yeah, it's interesting. And actually, we've been, I'm glad to hear someone else is doing this. We were working with Elizabeth Crow in Boulder around the idea of trying to get more agencies engaged in doing similar surveys, because I think it's incredibly productive, especially since we have a high percentage of our clients have substance use within the last 5 years, some immediately before coming to us. So I think one of the most valuable things we get from the self-surveys is understanding how people are doing socially, how they're doing emotionally, and that gives us keys for when we might need to re-engage more and make sure that they're connected to more services around addiction. That's generally useful, but when we're dealing with clients with kids, it's incredibly useful. Obviously, if we can get somebody who's relapsed once or who's about to relapse rather than who's deep back into addiction, the difference in terms of what that looks like with social services, their ability to retain their children, et cetera, goes up. So I think that's one of the most useful things to get out of the survey. So generally it's reflection. It asks things like happiness, connection to community, connection to family, how they feel they're doing as a parent, how they feel their children are doing, just general different areas that we think reflect sort of all the facets of one's day-to-day life, whether they're in a romantic relationship, whether that relationship is satisfying, as well as questions around whether they need anything else. But in terms of that specific sort of qualitative, it's that space of just trying to ask general questions, have them rate, yes, I'm generally feeling good, or no, I'm not feeling happy and fulfilled. We expect these should go up and down. Like nobody should be at a 10 all the time in all these categories. It's really more being able to look month to month. If somebody's like, yes, 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 like it's 7s and 8s across the board, there's a couple areas, but it's going well. And then suddenly we get one where everything's 2s and 3s. That tends to be a signal that, we should engage. If somebody's always at 2s and 3s and suddenly they're at 9s, actually that can be a signal that something's going wrong as well. So just trying to understand how they see themselves.
got it. One of the things, just to put it in there, is that I think they used, it's a self-sufficiency index for, and apparently it has like 29 domains, mentioning that in the sense of like, it seems like it's one that's maybe used by multiple agencies. Not to say like you should change it, but it might be worth seeing how that is, because I feel like this area is really, it's tricky, right? Because it's like so much of like what determines success is not just like you can check off that they're still in housing, right? Like it's all connected of all those pieces. And so appreciate that the care with which collecting data that's not just like, are they in permanent housing and did they stay there, because there it's so much more complex than that. So thanks so much.
It is, Caitlin, if you don't mind me saying, like, I actually think that, again, specifically with our population, like, we know that relapse tends to happen at 2 main points for our moms. And one of those times, I'm not sure how many of you are parents, but if you are, or if you're not even close to someone who is, immediately after giving birth, relapse is incredibly rare. There's so many things people have happening in that 3-month period. You're just sort of bleeding and peeing, and there's a million things going on, and you haven't slept, and nobody's out looking for drugs. And then things start to get a little easier, and that 3 to 9 month old period is one of the first times we see where relapse comes up. And then the second is immediately after exit. And I think that one's pretty obvious, right? That they leave, they don't have the same kind of supervision. And I think it's less about like, no one's looking, let me do this, and more about like, I don't really know what to do with myself now that I have all this free time and all this freedom, and just sort of feeling a bit at loose ends. So yes, I think checking in makes a lot of sense, and we just want to keep our families united.
Thank you, Lisa. We have about 3.5 minutes left for board and staff questions. Any other questions? And what we can do is if any come up, we can also email you after. Any other questions? Deanna?
I was just wondering about the name change. If you could give us a little information about the thought process behind that. I
Yeah,
have
well,
some
I think
theories, but right.
really, I think it's just that Mother House and the Lodge is a mouthful, but when they were in two different facilities, we often were referring to them separately. So although it was a mouthful to say them together, we weren't doing it all the time. Also, when we started the Lodge a few years ago, we didn't know what it would look like. We started as a pilot program. We hoped that we would be able to keep it going, but we weren't sure. And I think you're never sure of anything in nonprofits, but we do feel like now, as we're entering, our third year, that we feel pretty confident that this will keep going for a while and that it's part of the work that we're doing. So as we moved both of our programs under one roof, we just wanted a new name that reflected that. And specifically the name Haven Ridge. Haven, I think, probably speaks for itself. And I think it hopefully speaks both to the work we do with children and also the work we do with the LGBTQ community, and specifically trans folks that often don't feel safe in other places. Ridge is because our new facility is right next to Shanahan Ridge. So we like that imagery of the mountains that means so much to us. The county of Boulder, which is not just where we are located, but is really the soul of who we are. And on a personal note, just a little shout out that I grew up on Shanahan Ridge. So that may be part of why it mattered to me as well. So that's the sort of reason as well as the background. Does that answer?
It does. I was curious if it was motivated a little bit by sensitivity to some of your clients and how they identify, maybe also.
We did go back and forth to some of that. We still, I think in the long term, the hope is to transition solely to the name Haven Ridge. I think Mother House, we discussed on multiple occasions, is there a better way to name this? Exactly like you're discussing. And boy, is that hard. Like if you've ever been in a position of trying to figure out like what is a word that is like mothers, but is encompassing and is inclusive. I mean, you kind of end up with mothers and other things that make you sound like you're in a Seuss novel. We just couldn't get there. So it felt like maybe something new was the idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I had a question. The board looks at programmatic aspects of your agency, and staff really looks at things like organization development, and finance. And I'm curious about your funding streams. Have you considered any state funding and or any other grant funding, as well as other kinds of revenue for your organization?
Yes. So for our Lodge program, we do access DOLA funding with ESG funding. We also have a transformational homelessness grant that we are about to access that goes to both our Mother House and Lodge programs under Haven Ridge. We have applied for some specific maternity sheltering related programs through DOLA, but so far we've lost out. But I think we're intending to continue applying for that every year until we hit the sweet spot.
Okay, great. Great. Okay. Well, with that, then, if there's no other questions from the board, let's go ahead and get started with your 5 minutes. You can share whatever you'd like. You don't have to use the whole time, but we want to make sure to give it to you.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we already talked a little bit about Haven Ridge and some of the changes that we are doing. I think one thing that we're excited about, maybe I'll just tell you a little bit about some of the changes that we have in our program that you'll see the next time we apply. So before, we were in a house that had 6 bedrooms for a Mother House, and we were able to double up some of those bedrooms, but it was 2,000 square feet, which was tight. And we constantly are on a wait list, dozens and dozens of people. And actually, this is how the Lodge was born, is that we had so many people coming to us asking for a place. And some of them we turned down because we didn't have space for them, which is the norm. But also other folks would say, I know you're a maternity shelter, but this feels like the place I want to be, even though I'm not pregnant, you know, for whatever reason, based on being a woman, based on being trans, I would feel more comfortable. And we would have to say, I'm sorry, it doesn't follow under a mandate. So this was, I guess, 3.5 years ago. We called a variety of other agencies and said, since the Boho Women's Shelter shut down, like there hasn't been a place, you know, is somebody willing to shut this up again? Because we keep having to send people back to sleeping in their cars, back to sleeping on the streets, back to abusive relationships. People who don't feel safe in the shelter we have because it's mixed don't have an option. And nobody felt that it was the right time for them to do that. So my COO went to our board and said, please, would you give us the grace to try this kind of crazy thing and just start up an entirely new shelter in the basement of a church? And they agreed. So that was how we started the lodge, was to deal with some of these people who were coming to us that we were not able to serve and to try and cut down on our wait list. And we've loved the work the lodge is doing. And we do have some percentage of people who are able to transition from the lodge to mother house. So obviously nobody's giving birth at the lodge, but if we have somebody who comes in the 2nd or 3rd month of pregnancy, we can house them on a temporary basis until we have rooms open up. And that's been great, but also both places have the same problem that we always have a wait list. We always have a wait list of dozens of people for mother house and for the lodge. So we wanted to find ways that we could do more and expand services. But as you all probably know, sheltering in the city of Boulder is like nearly impossible in terms of finding a location. You may have all seen sort of some of the drama that's happened here recently with our day shelter and the neighbors shutting it down before it's opened. It's really difficult to open new facilities here. So we had been looking and looking for ways to expand Mother House and ways to have a permanent facility for the lodge. The lodge has been operating, to be clear, for 2.5 years. First year out of a room at Har Hashem, and the next 2 years out of the basement at St. Andrews. So we did not have a permanent facility. So we'd been looking for a permanent facility for the lodge and a larger shelter for, there's a 10-year-old tapping my back, a larger shelter for Mother House. And there was just sort of this serendipitous moment where there's this facility that used to be Mary Sando House and that had been sitting vacant for several years. A lot of reasons for that, but it felt like to the city that it was someplace that might work for us. So we spent several months, 9 months, 10 months talking to the city, talking to the board, Mary Sando House, that's a face, and getting all these sort of things, trying to work them out. And I think we were able to work out a great deal where the old Mother House is actually now has changed into another nonprofit, is in our old Mother House building. They're doing rehabilitation work, which is incredibly important, drug rehabilitation. And we were able to move into Mary Sando. So Mary Sando has, let's see, we're zoned for 56. And it's going to take us a while to get to that many, and it does count infants and children as well, but it's a significant increase, obviously. Right now, I think the most that we could handle at full capacity in both shelters would be around 32. So 56 gives us a lot more room for what we can do, and we're really excited about how we might fill this out. Oh, sorry, 1 more minute. Okay, I'll speed up. So we have a few different things that we're looking at. And I think the other things we're really excited about is both of these buildings have this amazing shared space where we can do group work around. So a lot of our work is peer counseling related. 100% of our staff is lived experience at Mother House and the Lodge. A lot of the work we do is peer counseling and is group supportive work around sobriety. Finding places to do all of these activities can be tough. Just come here. And so doing them in these new shared spaces, I think will be much more conducive towards actually finding the space, the need, bringing in outside help, using the services we currently have towards finding long-term solutions to really make a difference.
Okay,
And I
thank
didn't
you.
realize, I thought it was too much time, and then I needed 5 more minutes.
Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate it. We'll be in touch if there are any other questions. You can look for an email from Eliberto.
Okay, thank you
Thank you
again so much.
Thank you. All right, board. So I'm hearing that Jackie is in the waiting room. Did you want to go ahead and proceed with their hearing tonight, or would you like to have that rescheduled? It's totally up to you. You want to go 15 more minutes?
I say let's do it if we're here.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and let let them in, Brenda. Or Jackie and whoever's here.
I think they might be together.
Okay. Let's see, it looks like it's still thinking. Connecting to audio. I'd say for doing all of these virtually, we've had relatively few hiccups. So if this is the biggest hiccup we have, I'd say it's not too bad. Do you know what's going on, Brenda? Have you heard from them?
I'm just sent them a message.
Okay.
Waiting to find out, see if they can hear.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Thank you. If this doesn't work, then
We'll
we
schedule
can
it.
just look for a time to reschedule. I think Eliberto said we need at least one board member present during one or two board members present for another hearing. Nice. I like the balloons, Caitlin. I'll give them just a few more minutes, and of course my dog should decide to bark now.
She hopped off, so I wonder if she's gonna try and log back in.
Let's try give it one more chance, and then if not, then we can reschedule.
I haven't heard anything back from her, so
Okay, let's go ahead and reschedule. That way we don't keep our board on the line. I know it's been a long couple days for you all. So thank you very much for your time and patience. And we'll be back in touch with the Safe Shelters information.
Great.
We'll
Thank
see
you,
all-
guys.
See you all soon.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you so much,
Night.
Brenda.
you're welcome. Thank you. Good night. Bye.